Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Music, melodic subject of a musical composition. The theme is announced in the first measures. An essay, especially one written as an assignment. Linguistics, the form of a word after all affixes are removed. The subject matter of a conversation or discussion. His letters were always on the theme of love. A unifying idea that is a recurrent element in literary or artistic work. It was the usual, boy gets girl, theme. Provide with a particular theme or motive. The restaurant often themes its menus. Music, melodic subject of a musical composition. The accompanist picked up the idea and elaborated it. An approximate calculation of quantity or degree or worth. A rough idea how long it would take. The content of cognition, the main thing you are thinking about. It was not a good idea. Your intention, what you intend to do. The idea of the game is to capture all the pieces. A personal view. He has an idea that we don't like him. Music, melodic subject of a musical composition. Music, melodic subject of a musical composition. An essay, especially one written as an assignment. He got an A on his composition. Art and technique of printing with movable type. A musical work that has been created. The composition is written in 4 movements. The spatial property resulting from the arrangement of parts in relation to each other and to the whole. Harmonious composition is essential in a serious work of art. The way in which someone or something is composed. The act of creating written works. Musical creation. A mixture of ingredients. Something that is created by arranging several things to form a unified whole. He envied the composition of their faculty. The physical object that is the product of a newspaper publisher. When it began to rain, he covered his head with a newspaper. An essay, especially one written as an assignment. A daily or weekly publication on folded sheets, contains news and articles and advertisements. He read his newspaper at breakfast. Cover with wallpaper. A business firm that publishes newspapers. Murdoch owns many newspapers. A material made of cellulose pulp derived mainly from wood or rags or certain grasses. A medium for written communication. The notion of an office running without paper is absurd. A scholarly article describing the results of observations or stating hypotheses. He has written many scientific papers. Cover with paper. Paper the box. An essay, especially one written as an assignment. To give an account or representation of in words. The act of informing by verbal report. He heard reports that they were causing trouble. A written evaluation of a student's scholarship and deportment. His father signed his report card. Be responsible for reporting the details of, as in journalism. Snow reported on China in the 1950s. A short account of the news. The report of his speech. A written document describing the findings of some individual or group. The general estimation that the public has for a person. He was a person of bad report. Announce as the result of an investigation or experience or finding. Dozens of incidents of wife beatings are reported daily in this city. Announce one's presence. I report to work every day at 9 o'clock. A sharp explosive sound, especially the sound of a gun firing. They heard a violent report followed by silence. Complain about. Make a charge against. I reported her to the supervisor. Make known to the authorities. One student reported the other to the principal. A terrorist network intensely opposed to the United States that dispenses money and logistical support and training to a wide variety of radical Islamic terrorist groups, has cells in more than 50 countries. Of low birth or station, base, is archaic in this sense. Base-born wretches with dirty faces. Use, purified cocaine, by burning it and inhaling the fumes. Lowest support of a structure. It was built on a base of solid rock. A support or foundation. The base of the lamp. The most important or necessary part of something. A place that the runner must touch before scoring. Illegitimate. Numeration system, the positive integer that is equivalent to 1 in the next higher counting place. A phosphoric ester of a nucleoside, the basic structural unit of nucleic acids, DNA or RNA. A lower limit. Serving as or forming a base. The painter applied a base coat followed by 2 finishing coats. The fundamental assumptions from which something is begun or developed or calculated or explained. Linguistics, the form of a word after all affixes are removed. The place where you are stationed and from which missions start and end. The stock of basic facilities and capital equipment needed for the functioning of a country or area. The industrial base of Japan. Having or showing an ignoble lack of honor or morality. That liberal obedience without which your army would be a base rabble. Any of various water-soluble compounds capable of turning litmus blue and reacting with an acid to form a salt and water. Bases include oxides and hydroxides of metals and ammonia. Not adhering to ethical or moral principles. Base and unpatriotic motives. Installation from which a military force initiates operations. The attack wiped out our forward bases. Use as a basis for, found on. Base a claim on some observation. A flat bottom on which something is intended to sit. A tub should sit on its own base. Anatomy, the part of an organ nearest its point of attachment. The base of the skull. Debased, not genuine. An attempt to eliminate the base coinage. Electronics, the part of a transistor that separates the emitter from the collector. Situate as a center of operations. We will base this project in the new lab. The bottom or lowest part. The base of the mountain. The bottom side of a geometric figure from which the altitude can be constructed. The base of the triangle. The principal ingredient of a mixture. Glycerinated gelatin is used as a base for many ointments. Used of metals, consisting of or alloyed with inferior metal. Base coins of aluminum. Used of opinions and actions, far beyond the norm. Radical opinions on education. Especially of leaves. Located at the base of a plant or stem, especially arising directly from the root or rootstock or a root-like stem. Radical leaves. An atom or group of atoms with at least one unpaired electron. In the body, it is usually an oxygen molecule that has lost an electron and will stabilize itself by stealing an electron from a nearby molecule. In the body, free radicals or high-energy particles that ricochet wildly and damage cells. Linguistics. The form of a word after all affixes are removed. Markedly new or introducing radical change. Radical political views. Chemistry. Two or more atoms bound together as a single unit and forming part of a molecule. A character conveying the lexical meaning of a logogram. A person who has radical ideas or opinions. Arising from or going to the root or source. A radical flaw in the plan. Mathematics. A quantity expressed as the root of another quantity. Of or relating to or constituting a linguistic root. A radical verb form. A simple form inferred as the common basis from which related words in several languages can be derived by linguistic processes. Someone from whom you are descended, but usually more remote than a grandparent. Become settled or established and stable in one's residence or lifestyle. Linguistics. The form of a word after all affixes are removed. The set of values that give a true statement when substituted into an equation. The place where something begins, where it springs into being. Communism's Russian root. Dig with the snout. The pig was rooting for truffles. A number that, when multiplied by itself some number of times, equals a given number. Botany. The usually underground organ that lacks buds or leaves or nodes. Absorbs water and mineral salts. Usually it anchors the plant to the ground. Cause to take roots. Cheer for. She roots for the Broncos. Come into existence, originate. The problem roots in her depression. Plant by the roots. Take root and begin to grow. This plant roots quickly. The embedded part of a bodily structure such as a tooth, nail, or hair. Linguistics. The form of a word after all affixes are removed. Cylinder forming a long narrow part of something. A slender or elongated structure that supports a plant or fungus or a plant part or plant organ. Stop the flow of a liquid. Stem the tide. Linguistics. The form of a word after all affixes are removed. Thematic vowels are part of the stem. A turn made in skiing. The back of one ski is forced outward and the other ski is brought parallel to it. Front part of a vessel or aircraft. Cause to point inward. Stem your skis. Grow out of, have roots in, originate in. The increase in the national debt stems from the last war. Remove the stem from. For automatic natural language processing, the words must be stemmed. The tube of a tobacco pipe. A branch of knowledge. Teachers should be well trained in their subject. Possibly accepting or permitting. The time is fixed by the director and players and therefore subject to much variation. A person who owes allegiance to that nation. A monarch has a duty to his subjects. Being under the power or sovereignty of another or others. Subject peoples. Make subservient. Force to submit or subdue. The subject matter of a conversation or discussion. He didn't want to discuss that subject. Something, a person or object or scene, selected by an artist or photographer for graphic representation. A moving picture of a train is more dramatic than a still picture of the same subject. A person who is subjected to experimental or other observational procedures. Someone who is an object of investigation. The subjects for this investigation were selected randomly. Some situation or event that is thought about. He had been thinking about the subject for several years. Cause to experience or suffer or make liable or vulnerable to. He subjected me to his awful poetry. Grammar. One of the two main constituents of a sentence. The grammatical constituent about which something is predicated. Likely to be affected by something. The bond is subject to taxation. Logic. The first term of a proposition. Make accountable for. He did not want to subject himself to the judgments of his superiors. The subject matter of a conversation or discussion. It was a very sensitive topic. Some situation or event that is thought about. He kept drifting off the topic. A theme that is repeated or elaborated in a piece of music. A design or figure that consists of recurring shapes or colors, as in architecture or decoration. A unifying idea that is a recurrent element in literary or artistic work. Exposed to fresh air. The mass of air surrounding the Earth. It was exposed to the air. Travel via aircraft. Air travel involves too much waiting in airports. Exposed to cool or cold air so as to cool or freshen. Air the old winter clothes. A slight wind, usually refreshing. As he waited, he could feel the air on his neck. A succession of notes forming a distinctive sequence. She was humming an air from Beethoven. A distinctive but intangible quality surrounding a person or thing. An air of mystery. Broadcast over the airwaves, as in radio or television. We cannot air this X-rated song. Make public. She aired her opinions on welfare. Medium for radio and television broadcasting. The program was on the air from 9 till midnight. A mixture of gases, especially oxygen, required for breathing. The stuff that the wind consists of. Air pollution. Be broadcast. This show will air Saturdays at 2 p.m. Exposed to warm or heated air, so as to dry. Once thought to be one of four elements composing the universe, Empedocles. The region above the ground. Her hand stopped in mid-air. A course of reasoning aimed at demonstrating a truth or falsehood. The methodical process of logical reasoning. I can't follow your line of reasoning. A slight depression or fold in the smoothness of a surface. His face has many lines. Mechanical system in a factory whereby an article is conveyed through sites at which successive operations are performed on it. A connected series of events or actions or developments. Historians can only point out those lines for which evidence is available. The road consisting of railroad track and roadbed. A conceptual separation or distinction. There is a narrow line between sanity and insanity. A succession of notes forming a distinctive sequence. A conductor for transmitting electrical or optical signals or electric power. The principal activity in your life that you do to earn money. He's not in my line of business. Make a mark or lines on a surface. Draw a line. Often plural, a means of communication or access. Lines of communication were set up between the two firms. The descendants of one individual. His entire lineage has been warriors. Space for one line of print, 1 column wide and 1/14 inch deep, used to measure advertising. A short personal letter. Drop me a line when you get there. A telephone connection. Be in line with, form a line along. Trees line the riverbank. The maximum credit that a customer is allowed. A particular kind of product or merchandise. A nice line of shoes. A pipe used to transport liquids or gases. A pipeline runs from the wells to the seaport. A commercial organization serving as a common carrier. Acting in conformity. In line with. A formation of people or things one behind another. The line stretched clear around the corner. A formation of people or things one beside another. The line of soldiers advanced with their bayonets fixed. A fortified position, especially one marking the most forward position of troops. They attacked the enemy's line. A length, straight or curved, without breadth or thickness, the trace of a moving point. A mark that is long relative to its width. He drew a line on the chart. A single frequency, or very narrow band, of radiation in a spectrum. A spatial location defined by a real or imaginary unidimensional extent. Cover the interior of. Line the gloves. Fill plentifully. Line one's pockets. In games or sports, a mark indicating positions or bounds of the playing area. Mark with lines. Sorrow had lined his face. Persuasive but insincere talk that is usually intended to deceive or impress. Let me show you my etchings as a rather worn line. Reinforce with fabric. Lined books are more enduring. Something, as a cord or rope, that is long and thin and flexible. A washing line. Text consisting of a row of words written across a page or computer screen. The letter consisted of 3 short lines. A succession of notes forming a distinctive sequence. A succession of notes forming a distinctive sequence. A succession of notes forming a distinctive sequence. The perception of pleasant arrangements of musical notes. An intense or violent exertion. Difficulty that causes worry or emotional tension. She endured the stresses and strains of life. Cause to be tense and uneasy or nervous or anxious. Test the limits of. Become stretched or tense or taut. The rope strained when the weight was attached. A succession of notes forming a distinctive sequence. The act of singing. Remove by passing through a filter. Separate by passing through a sieve or other straining device to separate out coarser elements. Use to the utmost. Exert vigorously or to full capacity. Don't strain your mind too much. Biology. A group of organisms within a species that differ in trivial ways from similar groups. A new strain of microorganisms. A special variety of domesticated animals within a species. He created a new strain of sheep. The general meaning or substance of an utterance. To exert much effort or energy. Straining our ears to hear. An effortful attempt to attain a goal. Rub through a strainer or process in an electric blender. Alter the shape of something by stress. Psychology. Nervousness resulting from mental stress. His responsibilities were a constant strain. Injury to a muscle, often caused by overuse, results in swelling and pain. Physics. Deformation of a physical body under the action of applied forces. Adjust the pitches of musical instruments. My piano needs to be tuned. Adjust for better functioning. Tune the engine. A succession of notes forming a distinctive sequence. The adjustment of a radio receiver or other circuit to a required frequency. The property of producing accurately a note of a given pitch. He cannot sing in tune. Make an effort or attempt. The infant had essayed a few wobbly steps. Put to the test, as for its quality, or give experimental use to. An analytic or interpretive literary composition. A tentative attempt. The visual appearance of something or someone. A perceptual structure. The composition presents problems for students of musical form. The phonological or orthographic sound or appearance of a word that can be used to describe or identify something. The inflected forms of a word can be represented by a stem in a list of inflections to be attached. Make something, usually for a specific function. Any spatial attributes, especially as defined by outline. Establish or impress firmly in the mind. A body of students who are taught together. Create, as an entity. Social groups form everywhere. Biology. A group of organisms within a species that differ in trivial ways from similar groups. A category of things distinguished by some common characteristic or quality. Sculpture is a form of art. A life-size dummy used to display clothes. Develop into a distinctive entity. Alternative names for the body of a human being. The spatial arrangement of something is distinct from its substance. To compose or represent. This wall forms the background of the stage setting. Give shape or form to. Form the young child's character. Physical chemistry. A distinct state of matter in a system. Matter that is identical in chemical composition and physical state and separated from other material by the phase boundary. A mold for setting concrete. They built elaborate forms for pouring the foundation. An ability to perform well. He was at the top of his form. an arrangement of the elements in a composition or discourse. The essay was in the form of a dialogue. A particular mode in which something is manifested. His resentment took the form of extreme hostility. A printed document with spaces in which to write. He filled out his tax form. Assume a form or shape. The water formed little beads. The phonological or orthographic sound or appearance of a word that can be used to describe or identify something. The phonological or orthographic sound or appearance of a word that can be used to describe or identify something. The phonological or orthographic sound or appearance of a word that can be used to describe or identify something. A piece of stored information that is used to identify an item in an information storage and retrieval system. The property of holding together and retaining its shape. Considerable capital, wealth or income. The idea that is intended. What a communication that is about something is about. The choicest or most essential or most vital part of some idea or experience. A particular kind or species of matter with uniform properties. Shigella is one of the most toxic substances known to man. Material of a particular kind or constitution. The immune response recognizes invading substances. The real physical matter of which a person or thing consists. DNA is the substance of our genes. The state of being contented with your situation in life. He relaxed in sleepy contentedness. The amount that can be contained. What a communication that is about something is about. Satisfied or showing satisfaction with things as they are. A contented smile. The sum or range of what has been perceived, discovered, or learned. Something, a person or object or scene, selected by an artist or photographer for graphic representation. Usually plural, everything that is included in a collection and that is held or included in something. He emptied the contents of his pockets. Make content. I am contented. Satisfy in a limited way. He contented himself with 1 glass of beer per day. The proportion of a substance that is contained in a mixture or alloy, etc. What a communication that is about something is about. What a communication that is about something is about. A communication, usually brief, that is written or spoken or signaled. He sent a 3-word message. Send a message. Send a message to. She messaged the committee. Send as a message. She messaged the final report by fax.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.